It's the B, the R, the A, the T, BRAT up in your building, hailing to you from the Bronx, New York. And today we're doing another installation of the Dancer Side Hustle series. And today we're talking about being a dance teacher. Now, dance teacher, that's, to some, that might be not even a side hustle, that might be a full-time, but it depends. Like if you're trying to be actively a performing artist, it can be used as a side hustle, yeah? And first, my thought would be, have you been dancing your whole life? Have you perfected like some particular genres? Those are the genres you probably want to stick to when you are going out to try to find work. So say you're amazing at jazz, maybe see if anyone's looking for jazz teachers. If you're amazing at hip hop or dance hall or poppin', stick within your expertise, because those are the things that you're gonna shine at teaching because you know them so well, right? Now, you're gonna think, you could try multiple different places or locations to teach dance, but say you can be in a dance studio teaching a dance, so you could be like at a Perry dance at a Broadway, or you can teach in school, like at a public school, maybe a private school, or maybe you can teach at, if you have a specific network, maybe you can teach workshops at corporate spots. So, figuring out which one or maybe all can suit your teaching style and also your schedule, because schedule is important. Now, for instance, if you're teaching with the Department of Education or in a school or through a arts organization that is connected to schools, you have to think like these things take up, especially because you're dealing with children and you have contracts over a few months, these positions and those kind of institutions are a supreme time suck, because you're locked in for a few months, and also it's harder to take off because it's in a school. So you have to get fingerprinted, you have to go through all these different types of trainings in order to teach within the school system. So it's kind of hard for you to get a sub if you're sick or if you have an audition or you have a show. So it makes it a little bit more challenging if you have work outside of the school. Like once you're locked in, you're kind of locked in. So that's one thing I feel like everybody needs to think about. And that kind of really dictates whether people really want to teach in schools or not. Okay, so remember this, I'm telling you, it's a big decision to take into account. Now, so you can teach in a school, you can teach in a dance studio. Dance studios, a little bit more flexible because you have other dance teachers within the building who could possibly sub your classes. So that's a cool thing. And also, you kind of can see your schedule, like set your schedule how you want and which is the most opportune time for you to teach, because, not to say they don't already have people on the schedule, but it's not like when you're teaching in schools or after school, like you're teaching between these hours and these hours. So again, if you, for instance, it's better for you to teach at night because you have rehearsals or whatever throughout the day. You get to kind of be able to have more of a say in that regard. Now, again, there are other dance teachers, so it's not like you have supreme say over your schedule, but you could be like, I prefer to work at this hour, between this hour and this hour, and maybe they'll be able to accommodate you. So that's a thought. Also, pay rate. So when you teach in the schools, for the most part, it's giving you more than minimum wage, but considering, and this is specifically for public school, it's more than minimum wage, but for the job you're doing, like for instance, on Tuesdays, I teach like 5 classes of kids in a public school, and each class is like 30 kids. It's a lot. And when you think of the pay, sometimes that doesn't equal out, especially considering your expertise. Because again, if you've been dancing since you're about 3, 4, and now you're like 25, and going to teacher school. That's a lot of years of experience under your belt, which I don't think they pay correctly in terms of like you teaching a class. So that's one thing to think about. But they usually pay more than minimum wage, but unless you can prove your level you can prove your level of expertise, but say if the folks don't know you too well or whatever, it might be a little bit harder to get the higher rates. And again, like I've seen as low as $45 per class up to like $150. But again, that depends on the school as well, because like I've gotten paid higher in private schools because they're like, oh, what's your rate? They ask you your rate, and because it's private school and they have different types of funding, they can usually match you, versus like a public school, they are usually working with grants and things like that. So they might not be able to pay as high as a private school. So thought there. Now, again, you can teach at a you can teach at a dance studio, which again kind of provides you a little bit more flexibility, because say you're sick, you have an audition, you have to go out of town, there's most likely someone within the dance studio who can sub your class, which is pretty good. So you don't totally like lose your spot. One thought I would throw out there, now teaching can be, it's rewarding because you see people getting stuff, you like seeing people's growth and all that is amazing to like witness, but also it can be like taxing, yeah? And with that, picking the best environment for you to teach in is very important. Now, you won't really know it until you try it, but once you figured out, okay, this is gonna be like the community or the environment I wanna work with, like stick in there and try to like grow that community and the network and all that, because that'd be very helpful. Because I'm telling you, like teaching public schools can be draining, and I see that a lot of people don't lean into it because it's like very tiring, and depending on like the school and how they handle interactions with children, it can be very like discouraging. But if you're a teacher's teacher and you're just like, yo, I'm gonna rough it out, I'll figure it out in my class and make a environment into which I can thrive and the students can thrive, that's a thing. But definitely figure out which works best for you. I know people who do studios, I know people who love teaching kids. Oh yeah, this is the thing too. If you're in studios, you can teach year round. If you're working within a school system, the school system, you only teach when the kids are in school, and then your summers are off. But it's not like you're a teacher unless you are like a part of the faculty. If you're coming in as a like working artist, you're gonna have your summer where you have no bread. So to plan ahead is very, very important. You have to think 3 months ahead, because you don't want to get to the end of the school year, summer comes, and now literally that was your bread and butter, and now your bread and butter is gone, and now you're kind of like struggling through the summer. So I'm telling you, plan ahead, work extra, maybe work a few schools, maybe work a night job, just so you can have a buffer. So when that's over, if summer, say you don't book a tour or have something lined up, you have that money there so that you can survive through the summer. Because it has been like the dancer Achilles heel for years. I see people teach, and then summer comes, it's like there's no money. So think about that, yeah? So we said schools, dance studios, and you also have like corporate, like I love corporate gigs. Corporate gigs, if you have that network, is a good place to teach. Because again, say you're like teaching a workshop for Women's History Month, Black History Month, Caribbean History Month, you get to set your rate. So say like when I was teaching with my dance partner, we would have we teach together as a duet, and just get these different history months or these women empowerment luncheons or whatever, and we were able to charge our rate, which is $1,000 a piece. And then now you're first of all, it's cool to like have adults moving or just different people outside of the norm who usually don't move. But you're able to set your rate and like work as a business. So having teaching corporate is very cool because you get to come in, expose, the workers to things that they usually don't get to do at their job because they're lawyers, or they're medical professionals, so they're usually just working in a very different realm. Because to expose them to movement and like see them like getting joy out of it is cool. But it's kind of a seasonal thing, unless you figure out each month, like, oh, this month I'm going to tap into this community, I'm going to tap into that community. If you get that ball rolling and say you're teaching like 4 workshops a month, but your rate is $1,000, that's $4,000 a month, and that is clutch. But again, during different economies, like say if the economy is good, you might be rolling in dough, and then say people get a little bit more conservative, that could dry up. So again, being flexible and figuring out the different climates in order for you to survive in that realm is important. But corporate clientele as a dance teacher is kind of really fun, and you get to like make up stuff and like come up with different costumes and maybe explain the history, so you like, it's a teachable moment as well. And they ask such curious questions, and it's a ball. So I love teaching corporate. Again, you get to set your rate, you get to new people, and then the network is vast. So if that's one place you want to teach, that definitely can be lucrative, but you have to be on top of like what's going on currently in order for you to create workshops and experiences that are valuable to those clientele. Yeah. So again, Dancer Side Hustle series, teacher. You could teach on this like the workshop circuits where people have like the dance camps. That's a huge thing. I haven't experienced that yet, so I can't speak too much to that. But I definitely have experience teaching in schools, teaching in dance studios, and also teaching corporate. I would say workshops for me are my favorite, again, because you get to set your rate, share your love, and then peace out, versus things that usually require more time in face-to-face, just as teaching in schools, don't pay nearly as well and take way more, I would say, mental bandwidth and like just like social battery and all these things. So like if you were teaching like at one school twice a week, that could be like fulfilling. But for instance, I'm teaching like 9 classes now, and it is a energy drain. So figuring out what works best for you so that you don't experience burnout is very important. But dance teacher is another side hustle you can venture into. And if you have any questions or you want to discuss anything further, put it in the comments and I'll share what I know. All right, guys. See you later. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.